Hi, my name is Amish.aggarwala. Let's talk about whether you can go to jail if you show the middle finger to a woman. Just yesterday, I was sitting with my interns and discussing with them about how I showed the middle finger to a lady around 1.5 years ago on account of her really bad driving, and I told them about how because of that we got into a major fight. The cops were called and ultimately they went away when they saw that nothing could be done. I really did not commit any offense. While I was telling this story, one of my interns tells me that there was a news report about how a court in Delhi convicted a man for showing his middle finger to a woman and passed the sentence. I myself was quite surprised because, according to me, the context is very, very relevant. There have been judgments since the past several decades passed by the Supreme Court and the High Court on the aspect of what constitutes the modesty of a woman, and of course the prime consideration being the mens rea, which is, in other words, the mind of the person and what kind of a mindset that he has while doing a particular act. So guilty intention becomes a very, very relevant factor. So I actually pulled out this judgment. The name of the judgment is The State versus Sharad Duggal. It's a publicly available document. I'll share the link below. And as I suspected, I should not cast aspersions on the judicial officer. Of course, that is not my, that is not within the purview of this discussion. But what I would like to point out is that the only thing that has been discussed by the judge is the fact that the finger was pointed towards the accused, was pointed by the accused person towards the complainant woman. There was also, of course, the allegation of hurt, and the court found that there was a small incision wound on the face of the woman, and therefore on account of that the man was convicted under section 323 of the Indian Penal Code for simple hurt. However, what is interesting is how the court dealt with the allegation of words or gestures to insult the modesty of a woman, which is covered under section 509 of the Indian Penal Code. The court merely in one paragraph states the prosecutrix has stated that the certain words which were used by the accused person, and then he showed her the middle finger, and that is sufficient to establish that he has indeed outraged the modesty of a woman. Without going into the testimony of the prosecutrix and exactly what context was behind those words, mere bald words and even actions would not be sufficient to actually at least at the finalization of the trial to convict a person. And had this matter gone in appeal either to the Sessions Court or to the Honorable High Court, the outcome without a doubt would have been an acquittal on all counts, not just on the aspect of outraging the modesty or insulting the modesty in this particular case, but even on the aspect of simple hurt, because I am confident from the judgment it emerges that the judgment was one which was written in hurry and which did not really go into detail about any of the aspects which should have been discussed by the court, neither on the aspect of hurt, neither on the aspect of the words to insult or outrage the modesty of a woman. And this brings me back to the main point, that is, no matter what you do in this country, to a great extent you can escape liability just by having a good lawyer. But on a lot of occasions, even when you have done nothing wrong, you can invoke the wrath of the judiciary, of the system, and face jail time just because your lawyer did not do a good enough job of cross-examination. In this particular case as well, if the lawyer had done his job of creating a long, comprehensive cross-examination, this thing would have, the mere existence of that document, having that cross-examination would have been sufficient to force the trial court judge to look at the matter objectively, to remember all the jurisprudence behind the offense of insulting the modesty of a woman, and would have taken a definitive view towards the acquittal of the accused person. Sadly, we will never have any outcome in the matter apart from whatever has happened, because in the subsequent order of pronouncement of sentence, the judge has imposed a simple imprisonment of 1 day for each offence upon the accused person and a fine of rupees 10,000. And I am pretty sure that the person will not challenge this judgment, in which he has been sentenced to 1 day of simple imprisonment, and that is why the jurisprudence stops over here. However, on the basis of whatever I have discussed in the past few minutes in this video, I am quite confident it is not a simple act of showing your middle finger to a person that will be sufficient to ensure a conviction. However, the context is very relevant. But if the intention is not to outrage the modesty of a woman or to insult the modesty of a woman, in such situations, you cannot put a blanket prohibition on the freedom of speech of a person. And I do not say it in comedy, I say it with the utmost sincerity, that showing a middle finger is also an aspect of freedom of expression, which is a constitutional fundamental right. So go ahead, show that middle finger.